Hello everyone, I'm going to be running you through a simple bingo caller in Python. This relies on user input, random number libraries, and a couple of functions and several while loops. The code is going to be displayed on the right hand side, and the actual bingo caller is going to be displayed on the left while we do our explanation. However, just to get started, I just want to run you through essentially what this program can do. So it's going to ask us for how many numbers we actually want called out in this bingo game. I'm just, for the sake of a quick test, I'm just going to enter 2 for now. It's going to be a very short game of bingo. It asks us if we're sure. I'll show you some validation problems and issues later. It asks us to play bingo. We're going to enter to get our first number. This then gives the bingo caller enough time to say 64. It then pauses. It says, the next number, 75. All these numbers are between 1 and 90. It says total numbers reach when we get to the end, and it thanks us for playing. It then asks would we like to play again, entering Y for yes and X to exit. For now, I'm just going to press X, and we're going to get a goodbye message, followed by a pause and an exit. All right, so we're going to run this again, but we're going to look through the actual code that's going on here. We're also going to just check over any validation issues that we've got. Let's just get this out of the way. So if we open up this again, what we should see is we've got a screen that pops up. We have a little bit of a pause so the user can actually read that they need to press enter after they've submitted any values. And it's now asking us how many numbers we actually want declared in the game. Okay, so for this entire program to work, we need to import a couple of libraries. We've got the random library and the time library. I could have specifically got a couple of functions from either one rather than getting the whole thing. However, at the time of programming, I wasn't sure exactly which ones that I would want. Okay. It prints out these opening statements, and speaking of the time library, I specifically have used the sleep function to, the sleep methods rather, to just pause for 5 seconds. Actually, I'm pretty sure it is a function. Yeah, it is. So anyway, we've got the main process that then occurs. Now, this hasn't actually happened yet, but as you can see, there's quite a lot of code in this begin function here. Generally, what is actually happening in this program, we've got the whole begin function, which has the main process, and then it asks if we want to do the overall code again. This then operates on a couple of loops until we declare that we do not want to play the game again, and then it exits. Okay, we're going to be running through that in a little bit more detail shortly. We have, first of all, so it says we've got the number of rounds. It asks us for a user input, and it converts this user input into a number. That is because user input is normally in string format, okay, which is just basically words, letters. Okay. Now, if you were not to enter a number, it would just tell us to enter a valid number. Ordinarily, we would get a value error because A isn't an integer, it isn't a number, but what we're essentially doing here with accept is we're overriding that and just getting the user to input a number again. Okay, as you can see, the variable number of rounds is redeclared, and we have another opportunity. We're presenting the user with another opportunity to put a valid number in. So let's do that. Let's enter a valid number. Let's say 2. It asks us if we are sure. This is the confirm rounds validation, variable rather, and it relies again on a user input, Y for yes and N for no. Now, but if we don't enter anything valid here, and we just type in whatever we wanted, or we just didn't type anything at all and just hit enter, a loop of invalid inputs being printed out and asking us to reconfirm the confirm rounds variable would just happen over and over and over again until we hit yes or no. In this case, I'm going to press no because we didn't do that before. So it's now saying how many numbers would you like generated for this game. Okay, it's actually starting this loop, which essentially borrows some of the codes from earlier. Okay, we're just running through all of those things, including the validation stuff that we saw earlier. Okay, so again, if I was to enter something that was invalid, it would just tell me to enter a valid number. And again, we would get all of the above code executed. I'm going to actually say yes. I'm going to say 3 numbers. Again, very short game of bingo, but just for test purposes, 3. It says, let's play bingo, and if we're happy, the above loops end and the code continues. Okay, so we've now got if confirm rounds equals yes, print let's play bingo, and then we've got ready equals input, press enter to get your first number. So the user can essentially press enter, which would be nothing, or they could enter anything but a blank space. They could just type in whatever they wanted and still press enter, and it would still work because of the greater than and equals to operator there. The game has started and a variable is declared as a random number between 0 and 90. We have the next number being declared as a random number between 1 and 91 even. A list is created for numbers already called to go in. Okay, so this already called, as soon as a number is called, 4, 61 and 73 like we just experienced, what we want to happen is we want them to be inserted into this list so we can refer to that and check it later. That ensures that we are not repeating numbers, okay? So how this mainly runs is we have got the variable and a list here, okay? We've got the next number and the list for already called. We want all the numbers to run for the same amount of rounds that we've earlier declared. I declared that I wanted 3 rounds of numbers to be issued. We have got that, okay? That is because we are declaring a new variable called x, which is equal to 0. Now, while x is less than the number of rounds, okay, so while x is less than 3, we are going to get the following code executed, okay? If the next number is already called, if it's already in this, it's just going to reset the number. We're going to redeclare that next number. We are not touching x. X is going to stay whatever it's supposed to, whatever it just was. However, if the number hasn't been called, if it's not in already called, if it's not in this list, we are going to add the number to the list using the .append. We are going to print the next number. We are going to then redeclare the next number for the next round, and then we're just going to pause for 5 seconds. X then gains a value of 1. So initially x is 0, then x is equal to 1, then x is equal to 2. Okay? So all this is running while x is 0 for number 4. X then equals 1. It then runs again for 61. X then equals 2. It runs again for 73. And then at last, x is now equal to the number of rounds, which is 3, and it will not run the code again. Instead, it will break the code. Okay? Remember, this is all reliant on x being the value of 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay? We're including a 0 in there, much like we would include zeros in lists, indexes, etc. This now says, thank you for playing. Would you like to play again? Enter Y for yes and X to exit. Okay, I'm going to print the total numbers reached. Time sleep is 2, so the user can just register that and collect themselves. Thank you for playing. Okay, right. So it says, would you like to play again? Again is a new variable that happens only when this entire begin loop this begin function has finished. Okay. Where we're currently up to, it is asking us to input yes or X. Okay, this loop will run until valid. So if we were to just press enter here, we would say invalid input, and again, if I was to keep pressing that or keep typing whatever I wanted, it would continue to do that. When that loop is finally broken and the again is either equal to Y or X, certain codes will run. If I was to press Y, I was actually reinitiate the begin, and all this code and all my bingo call would happen again. I'm just going to quickly run through that very quickly. So we just want one number generated just for the purposes of the test. We are sure, we're going to press enter. The code is going to finish off. And as it is finished off, we get again asking to be redeclared via a user input. We then have the safety net for, if the user input is not valid. Okay, so if I press that, it's going to tell me it's an invalid input, but we're still in the while loop. Okay, we're still in that while loop. If I press Y, it's going to run again. Okay, so we go 1, yes, enter. Now, again, still in this while loop, invalid input will still work. However, if I press X, which is the final option, it would print goodbye as the time would sleep for 2 seconds. Goodbye. There we go. And on that note, goodbye. Thank you very much for watching.